I'm actually recording this video about for the first time right now because every time I rewatch it and edit it, I feel like my concluding message is just not clear enough. Like, I tell too much of a story rather than actually getting to the point. But I'm really trying my best to shorten up a little bit this time around. But what I wanted to touch about is a very personal topic, and the reason for that being is in my personal life, I'm actually not that close about it. My family knows, most of my friends know about it, and basically I'm very open about it because there's no reason to keep it a secret because, well, that's just who I am, that's just what I went through, and it's perfectly okay because all I went through is the reason for who I am today at this point. So it actually only made me stronger, and this is what I actually wanted to touch on. So that being said, I think it was around age 14 when I stopped swimming competitively because my grades at school were really much suffering under all the stuff that I was doing. Like, I had lots of training sessions and I went to high school, so my grades were falling, and I decided to stop swimming to focus on school and not let schoolwork take the shorter way. But when I did that, I wasn't really aware of what the consequences were going to be. I had been swimming for years and years before that, and if you watch my previous videos on how I got from swimmer to figure athlete, I'll link it right here, you know that I was very competitively swimming, and I was very focused and driven person at that point. Whole entire life involved around swimming and practice and training and school. So I stopped and it was all gone. I was just left there kind of like by myself. I mean, it was my decision, but I wasn't really aware of that was going to come. I obviously lost many of my swimming friends because I just wasn't seeing them as much as I used to before. And I made some new friends at school, which, looking back, they weren't really the smartest choice to be hanging out with. I mean, they were really lovely people, but they were such a different state of mind than I was at that time. And I started to smoke, I started drinking, and I started to eventually self-harm. And that all led me into a very deep depression. And I've been in that for about 2 or 3 years maybe. Of course, I had my parents that really much cared about me, and they would ask if I needed help. They would offer me help. They would offer everything possible they could do, but I just felt like I was okay. For whoever has ever suffered from depression knows that for a very long time one does not believe that anything is wrong. And I felt like I was good. I mean, I knew I was drinking, I knew my schoolwork wasn't any better than it was before. My grades weren't the bestest. I was going out very often, I was drinking, I was smoking, I was doing everything that wasn't good, but I was okay, and I didn't really care what my parents thought at that time. I was hiding that I was self-harming for obvious reasons, and it wasn't until I was about 15 and a half, close to 16, that they found out about it in the hard round, and they asked me to go to therapy. And of course, as always, I declined because I thought at that point I had everything under control and I was perfectly fine with my life, and I don't need their opinion and their help because I was 15 and I was such a strong independent kid, you know, all this stupid stuff. And it wasn't until like late fall, probably when I was 15, and I think that was 2006 if I remember correctly, when I actually went to my mom and told her that I was ready to get help because I could not handle this anymore and I couldn't do it all by myself. Even if I believed I did, I just could not. So I started therapy at age 15. Pretty quickly my therapist talked to my parents and told them the situation was quite serious and I had two options. Number one being me going into an official treatment center and treatment facility to get professional help for the long run, or number two being getting a timeout, sort of taking me away from my current environment, from my friends and everything, putting me in a different city and different place to get just my mind cleared. I obviously chose option two, and I stayed for about 3 or 4 or 5 months, I don't remember, on a beautiful farm with horses and chickens and dogs and cats, and it was just a dream come true for me at that age. I loved it there. and I kind of bloomed. I stopped self-harming at that time, and the family that I lived with, they helped me very much overcome all the bad and dark issues that I have within myself. And when I got home from that family in 2007, I just turned 16, and then I realized that in order to stay at my current mental condition and to stay healthy and happy as I was at that point, I needed to kind of like split from all my older friends that I had previous, and I needed to go my own path and my own road and do my own things. And that was really hard. Imagine as a 16-year-old, you just want to hang out with your friends, but on the other hand, you actually know that those friends are not really the best choice you can do. So I got there, and as lucky as I was, I got a boyfriend at that time, and I started to involve with his friends and make new friends. And that really much helped me to pull out of my previous friendships. At that point, I was really happy and it was good. When I got back home, I also made a promise that I was never going to self-harm ever again. And until today, I can actually honestly say that I never ever did again, because there was just no reason for me to ever going back to that dark mental state that I've been in for about 3 years. So as much as everything has passed and was in the past, the thing that remained and still is remaining are my scars. So I do have scars on both my arms, like upper and forearms, on the inside of both my forearms, on my core area, and then also on my calves. So I do have them, but of course over the years they started to diminish and like they started to fade a little bit and they got less visible and all that. And most of the time I obviously don't even think about having them. But I remember when I decided that I wanted to compete, that meant being judged in a very, very little small tight bikini on a stage in front of people, feeling very naked. I was actually, for the very first time in my life, I was very much worried about those scars. I was worried that these scars were going to place me down or have an impact on, I don't know, on my placing, on my overall look, on everything. I was so worried that these scars that marked such a dark area of my life were going to be responsible for something that I wanted so bad and that I did for myself, and that they were going to have an impact. I was so worried that these scars were actually going to cross my current happiness. I started prep obviously, and every so often I had fears of how I was going to like cover these scars up, and I don't know, it was always in the back of my head. Even though I've never been thinking about them, I've never been worried about them. Like I go to the beach, I go partying, and I've never had a thought in all those years until I actually decided to step in front of people almost naked. And I remember when I was backstage and I was actually all tanned up already, I just realized at that point that I had not spent a single dot on my scars so far today. So like, why would they have an impact on me? I am more than just the scars. These scars do not determine who I am and what I can do and what I can't do. They are not leading me in any direction. I can do whatever I want. I can do anything with these scars. So I can almost say that I'm a little proud of wearing them, because they mark something that I had overcome and fought for and fought against at a very young age, and I actually won that battle. Why would I care? Why would I bother thinking about those? Thinking about my scars at that point was just a waste of focus that I could have put into anything else other than my scars. So, moral of this video, to make it really clear at this point, is that do not ever let anything get in the way of your goals. Do not let stretch marks, birthmarks, muffin tops, bigger or smaller breasts, if you have bigger tight or smaller tights, if you do have an X-frame, if you have wider hips, if you have tattoos, if you have scars, who cares? What matters is what's inside. And if you're going to go out there and shine from the inside and show everyone your personality, your kindness, love, your attitude, that's what matters. It's going to overshadow everything else that's on the outside. Because let's be honest, everyone can see the outside, but only very few people are actually allowed to get to that inner beauty of yours. So go out there, be proud, be confident about whatever little bit of flaw you're having, because there is nobody that does not have it. Even the most perfectly seeming person out there has its flaws. So go out there, my friends, go out there, be yourself, be happy, be kind, be humble, be loving and caring, and be attentive towards everyone else. Do not let anything get in the way of what your current goal is, of what you wanted to do, of where you wanted to go, because you are worth it. So I really much hope that this video helps to the very few people that actually went through something, I don't know, similar, or had a similar situation in their lives, or are worried about anything on their body that they shouldn't be worried about, because there is actually just no reason to be worried about. If you did enjoy it and you think it is helpful, give this video a thumbs up. And with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed. Again, thank you so much and good night. So I asked you guys to ask me questions, so I do a Q&A with those questions, and I'm just gonna start with whatever question I'm having, and I'm starting out with Instagram. And the first question is from Hungry to be number one, I think. How do you stay looking so sexy? I think I'm not gonna answer that question, but thank you so very much for